Good morning, this is Rich Nelson with Allendale with a special update regarding USDA's monthly supply-demand report. Now, today is, of course, September 11th of 2015. As far as corn, numbers on the yield side of things here, very close to the average guess. USDA lowered them from last month's 168.8 down to 167.5. Average guess is 67.6. So no big surprises there. Production was lowered down from last month's 13.686 billion bushels down to 13.585. That was relatively close to the average guess as well. Now, as far as new crop and old crop issues, old crop ending stocks, they were revised a little bit here, down from 1.772 billion bushels to now 1.732. So USDA revised the old crop demand a little bit higher. That did help also make this a little more exciting issue on the corn. For the new crop ending stocks, with the changes on production as well, USDA lowered their stock estimate down from 1.713 billion bushels down to 1.592. That was a little bit under the average guess of 1.643. So today's report was positive for news on the corn side of things, on the domestic side. As far as changes on the world side for corn, looking across the list, there's actually no changes for new crop production for Argentina or Brazil. No changes for Chinese production either. So main issue was the domestic side here for corn, and like I said, that was a little bit bullish for the trade reaction. Now, as far as soybeans, there is a little bit of a different story here. Number one, let's point out the bullish side of things here. USDA did lower the old crop ending stock for soybeans. They recognized higher demand, which certainly was expected here. They lowered old crop ending stocks down from 240 million bushels to about 210 million bushels. That was, in fact, just a little bit lower than the average trade guess going into this report. Now, the surprising thing for soybeans was they actually raised soybean yields. Last month, they were at 46.9. They actually raised them up to 47.1. Very strong yield number, and that certainly was better than the 46.4 average trade guess. As far as production side of things here, they did go ahead and raise it as well, as you would expect it here. 3.916 last month, now 3.935. So on the soybean side of things, we did have this issue with old crop demand, which was recognized. However, we found more bushels as far as new crop production. On the new crop demand side of things, we also have a couple surprises here. Number one, crushed it was raised by about 10 million bushels. That is bullish here. The concern we have here is that USDA left their new crop export number unchanged. And we talked about this before. We have a significant problem with new crop exports. In fact, last year at this time, we had 882 million bushels already sold for this new crop picture. So far this year, 590. And USDA is thinking that exports for the year will only be down 5%. So, number one, USDA's issue on new crop bean stocks, they were lowered from 470 to 450. Not as much as the trade is expecting. And that even did not include the problems with exports, which will be shown on future reports. So it's very likely we'll see this revised higher from 450, maybe into that 475 to 500 range again. So this report was clearly bearish as far as the domestic side for soybeans. Now, as far as the other issues on soybeans here, let's look at these real quick here. As far as world numbers, no change for Argentina. No change for Brazil in terms of production numbers here, or the demands or exports. Also on the Chinese side, no changes there either. So today's report on soybeans was strictly a old crop issue, or was strictly a U.S. issue, and it was viewed as clearly bearish. And as I said before, it's likely we'll actually see that ending stock number increase here next month once they recognize some problems with exports. Now, as far as wheat side of things here, as far as wheat overall, this was not going to be a major report for it. We all knew we had some troubles with exports, and therefore the trade was expecting an increase in stocks from 850. They were expecting 865. USDA came in with a little bit higher number than that, 875. They made that move with a 25 million bushel drop in terms of exports. On the world side for wheat, there are some changes to look at there, which also were a little bit bearish. They raised the EU's wheat crop by about 6 million tons. They also raised the FSU numbers by about 2. Russia by 1, Ukraine by 1. The only decline there was China. So bearish for the U.S. side. Also, higher production regarded here on the world side as well. So as a whole, looks like mixed trade for right now. However, we still have some concerns about the soybean issues here in future reports. If you have any questions about this report, how to market, how to trade, how to move grain in this report, in this environment, feel free to give us a call here, 1-800-262-7538.